next speaker from PingPong Digital. In the US, more people are using iMessage than WhatsApp. And I teach at an MBA where there are often many people from Asia attending classes. And while WhatsApp is a common tool for us, and many of us are using it, for WeChat users in China and Asia, it's something they don't use that often. And choosing the right channels is very important to build up a solid presence in China. And therefore, Jimmy Robinson, co-founder and director of PingPong Digital, will share his insights on how you can market today's Chinese customers.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Jimmy from PingPong Digital. We are a Chinese digital media agency. For those at the back who can't clearly see me, I thought I'd put this lovely Photoshopped pre-approved picture up for you as well. I am the co-founder and director of PingPong Digital. I previously actually worked at MNC Saatchi in Beijing beforehand as well. And now obviously I've been running PingPong Digital, we've been going for about 4 years. We are actually the official partner agency for WeChat. We're currently the only agency in the UK who are officially partnered with WeChat. And we're one of 2 agencies who are partnered with Weibo in Europe as well. I'm going to go over 3 quick topics today. Just explaining what does today's Chinese netizen actually look like, which digital channels should you actually have a presence on, and also how you can Chineseify your existing marketing materials for Chinese consumers. So if we look at what today's Chinese consumer actually looks like, you'll notice, sorry, my notes are not showing up. So first thing about Chinese consumers. There we go. They like buying online. So the Chinese e-commerce market now equals Europe and the US combined. So that's just China alone based on Tmall. That's massive in terms of e-commerce spend. Chinese consumers as well are willing to spend a lot of money on the right products as well. So regardless of where a Chinese consumer is actually based, whether it be in a tier 1 city like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, etc., even in smaller tier 2, tier 3 cities where their average disposable income is going to be a lot less, if your product is sold in the right way and you've got the right level of brand awareness, they will still save up and buy your products as well, which is why you can still see people in the countryside on a field with a Louis Vuitton handbag. They'll still go there. They have a desire for premium over mass products as well. So the mass market appeal of products in China now is decreasing slightly. Instead, Chinese are seeking out premium level products as well. So this is why luxury obviously is a very big market in China at the moment as well. The Chinese will not buy into everything though. You can't just slap a price tag on something and expect they'll buy it. They won't. So you have to make sure that you've got the right level of brand presence and brand penetration in order for them to be buying into your products. Today's Chinese netizen as well is most likely to be aged between 23 to 35 years old. And quite surprising to most people is that it's very likely that this netizen will be female as well. Women outspend men almost 2 to 1 for online e-commerce sales as well. So when it comes to actually selling products online, whether or not you're selling to a female audience or a male audience, it's probably women who are most likely going to be buying stuff. They'll be the ones buying for their boyfriends, etc. as well. So from a marketing perspective, you need to understand how you can actually get this consumer on board. And this is essentially what Chinese consumers look like as well. Anyone who's been to China, especially if you go out for dinner with Chinese people as well, you'll see that everyone's sat around the table. No one's actually talking to each other. Everybody is messaging each other through WeChat around the same table. It's an interesting kind of thing that's going on there as well. Everybody is glued to their devices, which is great obviously for digital marketers, because it means now that we can use these platforms obviously in order to constantly be pushing out the messages that we want to 24/7 to our desired target audience. Understanding why you need to localize and adapt things for China is very important though. So when we look at the big channels obviously that most of us will be used to using here, these are all blocked obviously inside of mainland China, which is why you have all of these different channels that kind of crop up in China that most people will never actually have come across beforehand. Weibo, WeChat, Baidu, Youku, 360 even as well, amongst many, many others. And understanding the size and the scale of this as well. So these platforms, again, maybe many of you here have gone, I've never actually heard of anything that I've just said, and everything I just sounded like gibberish. But actually these are massive, massive platforms. There are 750 million internet users in China. That means that 1 in 5 people who accesses the internet on this planet is Chinese. So that is a massive, massive market. 700 million smartphone users in China and over 750 million active social media users in China as well. So absolutely huge. If we're looking at the way that China operates though, it's quite different from other marketplaces as well, because a lot of the channels, they actually exist in their own different verticals. So you might hear this thing called BAT as well. Baidu, Alibaba and Tencent, which David also picked up on as well. These different platforms, they all compete with one another, and therefore they don't like to talk to each other as well. To give you an example, I cannot use Weibo to promote my WeChat account. That's not allowed. They will block all of your advertising marketing materials for stuff like that. So it means that when you now want to build up a strategy, you have to make sure, of course, that you're using channels in these different marketplaces. Or alternatively, of course, that you have a cross-vertical strategy using alternative platforms as well. So something like 360, for example, that's going to speak a lot better actually to a lot of other platforms than something like Baidu, for example, which might restrict access to certain various different channels as well. And there are other rising players in online as well. So video streaming, for example, is a new, interesting area in China. Here, of course, you're seeing the Tube. We've had Facebook Live and things like that. In China, they've got a ton of different live streaming applications as well that are really, really popular. Because to be honest with you, I've never actually seen anybody use Facebook Live beforehand here, but I have seen people use these live streaming apps in China a lot as well. So they're really, really important platforms to actually start to build a presence on. And also understanding the way in which the app market works in China is also very different as well. News applications like Toutiao, for example, are also platforms that you want to make sure that you've got some kind of presence actually on as well. So if we very quickly look at Chinese social media though as well, there are 2 big giants in China that everyone really should actually be present on. And as a rule of thumb, we always say these are the 2 biggest platforms. And just looking at the size and scale of these, 360 million active users on Weibo, 850 million active users on WeChat as well. These are huge platforms, absolutely massive. And 40 minutes on average you spend daily on WeChat as well. So imagine that as a marketer as well, that rich brand immersive experience that you can now offer. I'm going to really quickly slide through all of these as well, but we have 4 arms to kind of Chinese marketing that you must make sure that you incorporate into any kind of localization that you want to do or adaptation for marketing materials. And this is our lovely friendly octopus that we use internally to train our staff. The first one is Chineseify. Make sure everything is localized for the Chinese marketplace. London & Partners would not have run this in any other marketplace. It's only suitable for China, obviously. Cute is good, more is the new less when it comes to China. Make sure that when you're putting out any kind of messaging as well, you're using emojis and being cute and being personable as well. The Chinese don't like being spoken to by big brands. They want to feel as though a brand is a friend, so it's important to put that across. This is a campaign that I did for VW actually as well, and how different it was between the West and also in China as well. This we're talking about tech. Over here, it's a nice love story where the girl ends up dying because The pollution was too high. It worked well in China, it was great. And this is what you have to start looking at doing and making sure as well that you're on the trend in China. Again, we've got over 1 billion people in this country as well. Don't try and create your own kind of wave there. Ride the existing things that are actually out there already. And make sure that everything you do is optimized for mobile. QR codes are used in China and mobile is king in China as well. The majority of our clients get 90% of their traffic from mobile devices as well to their website. So make sure everything is optimized for mobile. And also ensure that you're looking at your O2O strategies as well. It's not something that I've heard anybody actually talk about during this conference so far. Maybe I missed out some of the talks. But how do you incorporate the offline stuff that you've got into online as well? That's us. If you want to ask us any questions or anything, we're in the corner just over by, between the ladies' loos and the men's loos. You must have seen us. We've got a giant big red stand there. We're next to 360 as well, so if you want to talk to both of us as well, please do feel free to come over at the end. But thank you very much.